it in mind, I'd be like, okay, I've got the film. I don't need to necessarily keep the screenshot, but I do need to find other researchers that have experienced the same thing in their footage, and they simply didn't catch it.
Yeah.
There's a guy down in Alabama, forgot his name, but I'm hickory tree where the branches were growing out of one tree into another tree. That doesn't happen.
What?
Yeah, it was like literally coming out of one tree and going into the tree that was right next to it that was probably 12 feet, 15 feet away. The branches growing straight into it.
What the hell?
We don't, that's something that we kind of overlook. We expect to see trees, so we don't pay any attention to them.
Yeah.
Even if the tree trunk doesn't go to the ground. And I can't tell how many times I've seen that. And other stuff that looks like there's a tree there, but it's not. There's no tree there. It's kind of almost the same color as the trees that are next to it, but not quite.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that now, sticks out in my eye. I catch that stuff. Or the
look for
totem poles. How many researchers have seen totem poles of heads stacked on top of each other, trying to look like a tree?
Yeah.
Brown Dwarf has some footage that he shot probably 8 months ago, and not only because of what's become of my vision, but also because of my military training. This one particular tree stood out, and what it was Bigfoot creatures, as well as out of whether they were babies or Littlefoots or what the heck they were all kind of huddled around facing each other into a really tight circle. And initially you would look at that as a tree that he's walking by, and I'm sure that as he was walking by it was just a tree to him. But they all have faces and they're kind of looking down at him as he goes walking by. And the only reason I really caught that is because the color and texture was different than all of the surrounding trees. So as a redwood, this one was just a little too red.
Right. Well, even when they're not doing that, they tend to stack up. I've seen quite a few pictures like that. No, a good one is, I think I've got it in the outro part of the show, where there's a big black one sort of just basically sitting out in the open, and it's got a baby sitting on its head.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, they kind of do this stuff anyway. And if you look at like other pictures of primates and stuff, and they're all curious, and they're looking at something, they'll stack up like that. It's kind of weird.
The babies will, hang onto the backs and hang around mama's neck, and
yeah, and all of a sudden you'll have a whole bunch of faces all in one place, and you'll be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that also bothered me, besides seeing the really weird stuff in screenshots, was how they don't seem to take up the same amount of space that we would normally expect, in this 3D world that we're in.
Right.
Where are you putting? You've got all these heads stacked up. Where are you putting the bodies?
Yeah. They'll just lay flat on top of each other, back to stomach.
Exactly. Head. But still, it's not even wide enough to cover the shoulders, and the thickness of the back of a Sasquatch is, they're thick. Chest and back, they are smooth. If you have to shoot,
well, not much thicker than the width of a car or anything, Yeah,
not much wider than a car, exactly. But that isn't showing up in those totem poles. It's only the head stacked on top of each other. Where's the rest of the body?
Well, how much of that do you think is actually Bigfoot with weird visual manipulation stuff that they're pulling, and how much of it do you think is the others?
That's actually an excellent question. And based on some recent stuff I heard out of the reservation that Rich Soul had gone to, Omaha Reservation, out in Nebraska, and some stuff that I had also heard from Thomas Powell there in Pacific Northwest.
Yep.
Something about a separation of physical body and astral body. Well, according to both of them, it's this astral body is what's able to cloak. whether, and then of course some of the stuff that Richard was talking about in the previous episode of eating the quartz crystals.
Yeah. Well, Kat's mentioned that too, and I've actually been researching it and seeing, since she mentioned it, I started looking around all the hot spots that I have here in this area and going, I know where these places are, and I go there. I'm just going to look around and see if there's quartz there. And you know what? There is in every one of them. Every single one of them. Seeing, places, I used to call them blinds, ground blinds, where they would like hang out and watch for us. Finding little pieces of quartz crystal where they're sitting. And usually there's a couple of twigs making an X right there in the middle of the sea. Yeah. This is something that has happened repeatedly to many, many researchers all over the world. And I see the same thing over here. And the other thing is charcoal, little bits of burned sticks. Now, if you live in the West, the scourge of the West is fires, forest fires. Yeah. It's not hard to find a charred piece of wood in the western U.S., whether it be the Rockies or the Sierras or the Cascades. It's everywhere. But over here, we don't get forest fires. It just literally doesn't happen. And people don't go camping over here like we do in the U.S. You're not going to find little, campfire spots. And yet in those ground blinds, I'm finding little pieces of charcoal all of the time. The guy up in Bremen just found the same thing. He found actually not only a bag of charcoal, but a bunch of sticks that had been charred, literally charred black. And, they don't camp. It's actually dangerous to go camping over here because of the ticks. Yeah. Well, and plus the dog man. Yeah, the dog man will bug you. Yeah. You got those freaking werewolves over there. We were joking about this before we started recording about how the Germans are really thorough about doing things, and they probably did their best to wipe out all the werewolves at one point. But what happened? They're slacking off. They're reappearing now. They really are. But because the forest for several centuries now has been a safe place, because they did go through and mass genocide of anything canine and upright. Their kids are allowed to go play in the forest as basically as an extension of their yard. The forest is a safe place for the kids to go play, and if they could be 7, 8 years old out there, with their friends of the same age, a couple of kids together out there in the forest playing all day long. Yeah. We did the same thing when I was a kid, but I lived in the city, whether it was in Los Angeles or in Northern California in the Sacramento area. During the summer, jump on our bikes, and we wouldn't be home until daylight or till dusk. Yeah. That was it. We just, we'd go off and play and ride bikes, and, we were in our just pre-teens right up to that 12, 13, 14-year age, and then, of course, 14. Our motives go from fishing to girls, and so that wasn't such a big topic, but that's what we did. And they do the same thing here, only at a much younger age, and their choice of where they're playing out there in the forest. It's not as unpopulated out there as it used to be. Mm-hmm. Every researcher out there is talking about the population boom, and this place is no different. In fact, it's probably getting bigger and more concentrated out there than most of the guys have seen in the stateside. Yeah. It's really nuts. Look at all the sightings in the UK. Whether it's a cryptid Bigfoot or a dog man or black cats, all that stuff is on the rise. Deborah Hatzfeld, of course, she's the repository up there of the reports. She's staying extremely busy. Yeah. I mean, for God's sake, like we said earlier in the show, I'm getting people contacting me from Ireland going, by the way, I'm planting tree structures. Yeah.
What do I do with these things? Yeah,
Yeah.
keep looking. You'll find more.
Right, exactly. And it's knowing what to look for. One of the things that surprised me is when I was communicating with Igor Burtsev, he mentioned that he collects a lot of reports near Moscow. And I'm like, wow, yeah, cool. Do you have a map of that? Yeah, I got a map. So he sends me the map and I'm looking, and I'm expecting it's going to be an area map where Moscow is going to be a dot. And then there's going to be a spider web coming out from it of roads, and there'll be little cities around that. And there'll be, some reports out there in those little cities outside of Moscow. No, the suburbs are full of reports, and there's reports from actually in Moscow. This was just the city and the suburbs around it.
Yes, that's what I'm finding here. That's what the whole trip to Wiesbaden. That's what that was about. There is a nature park on the edge of town where she'll take her mom, but the majority of the places that she goes, what she calls Trail 2 and Trail 3, and we were unable to make Trail 3. I didn't get out there, so the majority of that footage is just in the Trail 2, which is primarily there in the city, surrounded by residential stuff.
Yeah,
it's a very large nature park, but it's inside the city. Right. That's not supposed to happen.
Well, I've noticed a bunch of that too, where you'll actually have a good sized city, and people will be like, "Hey, I saw something in the park right in the city," and everybody's like, "Yeah, no way." Sure, and then you go look at the map and you go, "Well, but that park is on the edge of the city. It sort of juts into the city. It's connected 2 million acre forest."
Exactly.
Like, oh, okay, now I can see how they could be right there.
Yeah, as long as there's access to, an outlying forest, I have no problems with it. It's just that this particular one doesn't.
Yeah.
Those homes and stuff that are around there, they were built in the 1700s. It's not like we're encroaching into their territory.
No.
If any encroachment happened, it was a very, very long time ago. Now, I know that there is a spring where the water bubbles out of the ground and runs down through this creek and goes into this little mucky pond that's there, which means that there's probably caverns and everything else under there.
Yeah, probably a karst system like we were talking about again before we were recording.
With Rich.
Talk about a lot before we record. But yeah, Rich brought this up, and again, it's really likely that they're using subterranean passageways for travel routes to keep out of the eyes of prying dumb humans. And exactly. They can move around during the day underground. We ain't gonna know about it.
We won't have a clue.
Yeah, at night on the surface, then they're pretty safe too, because we're blind unless we got a flashlight, practically.
Especially over here. I mean, they could walk down the street over here. Because they have, if you look at some of the pictures that were done for Grimm's fairy tales, they always had their little their little grass hutted roof and a window with shutters on them. Well, those shutters are actually real, and the modern version of that they call a rollerladen, which is it's basically like the storm shutters that you see in hurricane areas, made out of aluminum track, and they roll down and seal off the outside.
I thought you were going to tell me it meant monster shades or something. So pull the monster shades. It's dark. You don't want to see the monster.
It might actually be, but that's what they do. So it gets dark, the shades go down, and whatever happens outside happens outside. Nobody's able to see it because they close the blind.
Ignore the screams and the pounding on the door.
Yeah, don't worry about those. No, that's imaginary. It's just in your head.
Don't worry, we'll check the porch after sunup if they're still there.
Bremen, we talked about the woods that this guy is finding all this crazy activity up there right now. 2012, a woman that was walking in this particular set of woods that he's working right now, she came out of that forest screaming, crying, hysterical. People came, running up to help her, and the screams were still, they could hear it, and everybody could hear it, what was going on in the forest. So they called up the Polizei. The Polizei came out there in mass. I mean, like crazy. I'm sure the first cops that arrived, hearing this, got on the radio, and I mean, they came in force and did a complete search of the forest and found nothing. But that's an actual police report. You know, that's on the blotter back in 2012. This is the area that he's concentrating on now, because he'd found it in a different part of it's all part of the same forest. But he would walk his dog primarily in a different section of the woods, and now, because of the activity that he was getting over there, he goes, you know what? You know, that 2012 report, let me go take a look over there. And we think that he's actually found one of the places they live. And it's where the berry bushes go up over the top of a ditch. Again, kind of a subterranean world right there, where they're completely hidden and nobody would ever possibly expect to even look, because you know, that's berry bushes. Those are blackberries. They have massive, major thorns on them. But I have that also in my area. You know, the part that I call Bubba's Woods, and give you some pictures of that, both inside and outside. In fact, you can see the videos that I've shot in there, and how the structures in there change over time. But there's the whole back area is completely lined with berry bushes. And I would be on one side and Bubba would be on the other. And, you know, unfortunately, I could never get video of him that close. He always kept that wall of blackberries between us.
Yeah.
I do have a screenshot of him that was shot from about 200 meters away. He was out right on the edge of the tree line, and it looks like he's talking to he's 12 feet tall. So he's standing directly behind this little skinny birch tree, and there's one of the main limbs is coming off, and then a little twig off of that where there's a fork right next to his eye. And I measured that from that twig to the ground where he was standing is 11 feet 5 inches, which clearly puts him, that's at the eye, it puts him over 12 feet. And he is a massive dude. Massive. I mean, he's probably talking 5 feet across at the shoulders, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
3.5 to 4 feet deep, thick chest, you know, from the chest to the back. And he's talking to something that looks like an upright black lab that is clearly not a physical entity. So is it one of the others? Is this, you know, it doesn't look like what we've heard of as, you know, Dogman reports with a triangle wolf or German Shepherd head. This thing looks like just an upright black lab.
Right.
And he's got his life.
What do the cat calls those? Opie or something? They're the alien Dogman type. They're not the like dangerous ones. They're just, you know, sort of like
he doesn't look like
Dogmen that are intelligent. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he would be, you know, any more dangerous than a black lab is.
Yeah, they just look, well.
Throw the ball for him.
Right. And this could be part of what the you know, the old biblical and old Greek legends about, and even, you know, St. Christopher, the cynocephaly, that sort of thing, the dog-headed people.
That's funny, actually, that you brought that up, because the lady that introduced me to Wiesbaden and the parks that are up there, she actually has a picture of St. Christopher on her wall, standing in this creek that's, you know, over an island. I had never known that, you know, St. Christopher was actually a dog man.
Well, he started out that way, but apparently he got promoted.
Is that how it worked? Because every St. Christopher medal I've always seen, it was a person. Although I never really looked, you know, completely close at it to see if that was a dog man.
Well, the legend was that he was one of the prototypical horrendously terrifying warriors that would get hired as mercenaries, and then he converted to Christianity, and he became such a devout Christian that he actually transformed back into a human. Or became a human, and, you know, spent the rest of his lives being a human, you know, holy man.
Honestly, from based on some of the stuff that I've seen over here, and the way that the name of Jesus works, when you've got one stuck in your head, it really wouldn't surprise me how much of these old legends and supposed myths, how true are they really?
Well, they have to cover up that layer of reality with a big layer of lies, so that you won't know reality.
You won't know the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, you did. I don't think you mentioned to anybody where you got the picture of the ogre at. How'd that all happen?
I was actually climbing up the side of the mountain that I was actually following leaners. Over here, leaners are trail markers. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they stay right next to those, even if they're like, someplace that they're making a daily trip or a nightly trip. They follow those trail markers, the leaners, like religiously. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I was following them up the side of a mountain, and when I got to the top of the mountain, the leaners became smaller and smaller. Then they became like little limbs hanging, stick hangs, all the way down to like tiny little twig hangs as I was coming through this like a hedgerow. And by following them, I found like this backdoor trail into the area that I call the Enchanted Forest, because it was completely different than all of the woods that surround it, which are all oak and beech trees and, massive 300-year-old oak trees and beech trees. And this was all birch and fir.
Wow.
And two giant spruce trees. The most perfect Christmas tree. Yeah, those where the limbs go all the way to the ground and things can hide underneath them.
Yeah, yeah. You mean like the one that was had snow on it and had that frickin' Type 4 giving me the grin from behind it? That's black spruce.
The one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I had never even heard of such that kind of a behavior, that something would get underneath there and then stand up in where the tree trunk is. And then all they have to do is push the branches down and look at you, and they're completely hidden.
Yep.
I had climbed into one of the ground blinds that was there, and all of a sudden I've got noise that's going on around me, like literally 360 degrees around me. The camera's acting up like crazy. I'm moving it too fast a little bit, but the majority of the stuff that was going on seem to be, as now that I know quite a bit more about what EMF does to cameras, a lot of that is EMF interference. But I'm moving the camera around, and as I'm going past those spruce trees, here it is, sitting right there, eyeballing me. Yeah, wow. that really freaked me out the first time I saw that. When I caught that, I went, "Oh my God, that's like Shrek."
Yeah. Well, I know when you showed it to me, that was my reaction too. I'm like, Shrek turned orange. What the hell is that? Yeah. The same reaction I kind of had when I saw Leo's picture of the troll up in Nova Scotia.
Yes.
It was like, oh, great. Trolls are real. And then right around the same time you sent me that picture, and I'm like, oh, wonderful.
Ogres are real too.
Oh, great. I don't want to know what else is real. Quit sending me pictures.
Yeah, stop, people, stop.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself.
This is going down a slippery slope, and I don't like where it's leading.
And I had always assumed that an ogre was just the French name for Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I'm very close to France. The border is like an hour's drive away, and it's complete forest all the way from there to here. Even getting underneath or over the top of autobahns, there are routes that they would be exposed for less than a couple of seconds to get here. Apparently an ogre is not a French Bigfoot or a French wild man. They are their own critter, and they are even bigger. They are bigger than a Bigfoot.
Oh, good God!
His head is like the size of a big rig's tire. I mean, it's huge. He's a big dude. Or a girl, I don't know. The only thing sticking down through where he pushed the branches down is the head. But the head's very clear. It's very clearly there. So yeah, he's nuts.
It's just like trolls. When I saw that picture that Leo took, and then went and did some further investigation and got a hold of Crypto Sweden and talked to them, and talked to my insider and a couple other people that I know, and went like, well, yeah, a troll isn't the same thing as a Bigfoot either. As it turns out, they have words for all three things in Scandinavia: giants, Bigfoot, and trolls, and they're not the same things.
Wow. You know, and
not too happy about that. You know, it's kind of nice if you can lump them all in one category and go, no, I don't want three giant dangerous cryptids wandering around. Just one.
One will be fine.
Yeah, that one's more than enough.
We don't need more. The Pennsylvania Dutch and the albatwitch, aka the apple snitch, that actually comes from over here.
Germany, yeah.
Germans, not Dutch. Although they are a Germanic tribe, their language is different.
Well, it's because they called them the Pennsylvania Deutsch and they mispronounced it Dutch, and that's where it came.
Yeah, it's German. They are Germans. In fact, the Martin Guitar Company that's there in PA. They come from here first.
Yeah. Well, the Germans may have smuggled them over there to start with, but they're all over the damn place now. I know somebody got chased out of the woods here in over by Walla Walla, Washington last year. They got chased out of the woods by one of those little creeps.
Wow. The Alb or the Alba, there's the where I live, there's a place called the Schwäbisch Alb. Sometimes they call it Schwäbisch Alba, which is basically a hill about 40 kilometers to my south. And it's at the time back, you look at that area a couple of hundred years ago, and that was an enchanted forest where the only people that lived there were, thugs and robbers and, bad people that had no money, that, not established in the one of the local villages, and all these other beings. That's where they lived. Here where I live, we have the Ulberg term, which means basically the Owl Mountain Tower, and it's the highest mountain in the region, and on top of it is another tower that's like 200 meters tall.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a big tall tower, and when you look across the valley below, you can see the Schwäbisch Alb and all of the forest that covers from there to here. All of it is connected. So we got little people here. We've got, so the albatwitch is actually the gliding elf. That's the closest translation that I can get for an albatwitch is gliding elf, which of course that's what they do extremely quickly.
And another translation in English would be sneaky little creeps.
There you go. There you go. The sneaky creeps.
Sneaky creeps. So that's kind of funny because one of my researcher friends in Colorado, their nickname for the Bigfoot that they're researching they call them creepers.
We've used that term also in the Sierras in California because of the weird the belly crawl /
spider crawl thing.
Yeah, the spider crawl thing, and how they're able to do that so quickly and quietly and sneak right up on you. And sit there and watch you.
Oh, God.
Gutsy, man.
They're creepers.
Yeah, I don't like those. I don't like those. Honestly, when I see them do that spider crawl thing, I've seen it like 3 or 4 times over the last 14 years, and honestly, it really creeps me out. The hair goes up in the back of the neck. I get like really panicky on the inside, and that's not something that I do anymore. I've seen enough of these things over the years now that even like when Big Red was yelling at me and getting closer as he was doing it, all I did was hide behind a tree. I'd basically do the same thing that they did and try to get him on camera. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was like another 10 minutes in the video before I could actually get him on camera. And then, of course, I got zapped and, it's jelly brain after that, so who cares?
Yeah.
Just don't.
Then you're like throwing the camera over your shoulder and dancing in a circle. Like, la, 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 la.
EMF detector is going, the alarm is ringing like crazy. I'm like, oh, look, you know.
Hey, cute, pretty colors.
Cool. Yeah, it was nuts. You know, swinging the camera around. I had this weird, like, it started off sounding like an 800-pound woodpecker up in a tree above my head somewhere. Bang, 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 bang. And it was very methodical, and it turned into something that sounded more like a jackhammer, that metallic bang, 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 bang. And then it morphed into screams from the top of the hill, but it was always above my head. And I'm like, oh, what the heck is that? So after everything that I narrated after the zap, yeah, forget it. Yeah, jelly brain. Yeah.
Jeez.
But well, it was the camera can't. Well, they kind of can get, like, you know, manipulated. But the camera's still there to catch it. So one of the things I love about shooting video now is before, when I was in the Sierras and in Idaho, all I had with me was a still camera, you know, and I could take a picture of a track or a trackway or a butt print in the ground or tree structures, but I could never get as it was happening.
Right.
Video now, it's like I turn on the cameras. I'm in the car. I turn on the camera because you never know what might take off running across the meadow. You know,
right. As soon as you get out of the
rolling.
car.
Exactly. So camera stays on from the time that I get there to the time that I leave. The only time it gets shut off is if I have to change batteries. And sometimes that happens a lot.
Yeah, I know some people that every time they go into their research area, they get there, all their batteries are fried.
Yeah.
They zap the backpack full of batteries before they get there.
I've never had them do that. Anything. The only time I've been hit with battery drain to the point where a fresh battery that's supposed to last, you know, 220 minutes is like gone in 5 minutes. But for some reason, the batteries that were in the backpack, the spares, it's only been batteries that were actually in something working with it turned on has gotten zapped. How could they control that? I don't know. But
one of the more
things that was engaged. So if it's in a camera and the camera's turned on, zap it, and it gets zeroed out. But what's weird is I changed the battery, put in a new fresh battery, and and on we go. Later on, the used battery, most of the time, still has half a charge in it.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get it out of that area, it was like half full again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love to hear other researchers on that, with their experiences with that. Yeah, I've had moments of missing time. About 45 minutes of missing time. One of the last times that I had gone out before I had my shoulder rebuilt. Doctor said it's going to take a year to heal. So I went out and got as much footage as I could to keep the channel going. And during one of those times, in fact, most of the footage that I shot during that time, I've never used. It was just sitting on that external drive. I had memories of being out there shooting video, but the really bizarre part of it was it's got to be a screen memory. I'm looking at myself narrating the video from a point, say, 10 to 15 feet away and considerably higher, much higher off the ground than my short butt is.
Mm-hmm.
And these are memories I have of this entire little section of the forest. A ground blind that goes over a creek that's all woven together, and then another blind where they had pulled the branches of a tree down, butt prints and kick prints in the dirt, nice footprints. But when I come back on camera, where I'm in my right head, I am breathing so hard that like I just ran from the devil. I mean, and running from them doesn't. It's just not something that I do. If they're gonna get me, they're gonna get me. I can't outrun them. I'm a disabled vet as it is. You know, I have a hard enough time just walking and carrying a camera. I'm not running from them. And typically, I call it playing the dumb old country boy. So I'm getting yelled at, I'm getting screams, or something's throwing rocks up through the trees, and that kind of stuff. I know where the rocks are coming from based on the trajectory,
right? Because
of military training. But I'll look up in the trees like an idiot. What the heck? Where'd that come from? Duh. And I'll just keep on walking. Sometimes they get upset and they ramp up the activity, and I'll just continue to play dumb country boy until they either get frustrated and just say to heck with it and leave me alone, or they'll step out and then hopefully have the camera running.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I keep that sucker running, because I never know when they're gonna show up and they're gonna get frustrated with me and step out. So I just keep that sucker running, 24/7. If I'm out there, that camera is turned on. And something I've started doing lately is I have that GoPro clone. So it's a copy of the GoPro 5. So it's it'll shoot 4K and all that good stuff too. But I don't mess around with that. Just the highest frame rate possible in 1080. Right. Or if I can get a higher frame rate than that in 720, I'll use that. And I'll use a clip-on mount, and I'll put it on my backpack. Scott Carpenter made the whole back trail cam, is what he calls it, back trail camera, as a thing. He'd mount a full-on camcorder on his shoulder strap. I can never get that thing to be setting at the right angle. But a GoPro, yeah, they make a clip mount for that.
Yeah.
So I do that. Shooting behind me, and the batteries are good for about 50-55 minutes, and of course unless it gets zapped, and then then I have spares. I have extras.
Right on. It's always good to have that backup plan. Well, hey brother, I'm looking at the time here, and we have way run out of it, so we're gonna have to sign off for this episode, but I'm definitely hoping you'll come back and do another one, and I really appreciate you just being here for this one. I should mention to the listeners that this has been a long time coming, and that you almost died and got away with not being on the show.
Yeah, I almost did. That is for sure. I had to have a triple bypass last October, I think it was. Yeah. It was either end of September or the beginning of October. But yeah, that was a rough one. I'm still recovering from that. So this is summer the next following year.
Yeah.
And I still haven't finished healing.
So we're lucky he survived to be on the show here. I told him he couldn't die until he was on the show.
You did say that, actually.
Yep. It's all my fault.
I did. Yeah, that's your fault.
So, well, now you might actually come back to the U.S.
Got a little sign-off blurb that you've got about, not hugging the Wookiee. You need to add that. Stay away from the orbs.
Yeah, stay away from the orbs, too. That's another good one. Well,
you don't want that.
No, over there in Europe, they got another name for him, too, Will-o'-the-Wisp. Go look up what Will-o'-the-Wisp is.
Yeah. That
lures you to your doom.
I've got another one, something lantern.
It
looks like a lantern floating through the trees.
Yeah. Oh, God. I used to know what that name was, too. I know Fairy Lantern's another version of it. That's
Fairy Lantern is the English version, but the Germans have a name for it, too. Something lantern. I don't remember what it is. Here, and get up close and personal with these guys, because they are less aggressive here. Probably because we don't have guns, and carrying in the forest and shooting at them. Anybody who wants to do it before I have to leave here, which is going to be pretty soon, let me know.
Well, there's the open invite, guys. Go to Deutschland, drink some beer, and go find German Bigfoot.
Yeah, and I have a car, so you don't have to rent a car. You got a place to stay and food to eat. You don't have to deal with all the expenses of just get here. Use one of the online, cheaper ticket distribution places.
Yeah.
And come hang out with me. You'll go meet Bubba. That's my big boy that's I would almost say nice. Definitely not aggressive, but almost, almost nice.
In as much as they're capable of actually seeing nice.
Right. Extremely curious. Let's put it that way. He is extremely curious about us and what we do. So anyway, I know we've gone over time, so I can go ahead and I'll shut up now, and you can sign us out.
Well, I just prefer to keep talking for like another 3 hours, but it's actually 3:30 a.m. here, and I'm getting exhausted, and we've gone over time. So
wow.
We do have to sign out. And yeah, you have to not die until you can come back and do at least one more show. So you're stuck living for a while longer.
I'm actually, other than the muscle spasms that kind of grab my chest, because they cut through the sternum instead of cutting it out. They cut through it and wired it back together.
Oh.
Yeah, they did this while I was awake and alive. They didn't put down a heart-lung machine or anything. They said that it looks like an octopus that comes down, grabs the heart, lifts it out of your chest, and then they do it while the booger is still pumping.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the meat and the muscles between the ribs they'll like flare up and do muscle spasms that literally takes my chest, my ribs around my chest, and caves it in on top of my heart. But that's just like weird muscle spasm stuff. As soon as that's over, I'm good. I basically got probably another 20 years on this heart before I'll need another stent or something in there.
Yeah. Well, if you quit getting frickin' zapped all the time anyway, maybe.
Honestly, that was one of the other reasons I kind of like really, really pulled back on the research. I'm trying to look at the bright side. Where's the positives on this? I go out, I'm busting my butt, filming everything that I can, looking into everything that I can, all the time that I spend back at my laptop, looking into the old records, and only so I can get zapped and spend the next 2 days in bed, just completely in misery.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the positive side to this? I don't know.
Well, the positive side is after you present your evidence, the public insults you and tells you you're crazy.
Yes, that is always a good thing.
Oh wait, that's not the positive side.
Screamed at and called all kinds of names by the Bigfoot community. I say that community part with air quotes. So
the unity of Bigfoot commies. So anyway, thanks again for being on the show. You can't die. You got to come back do the show again.
Will do.
Okay, that's the official doctor's notice. No dying. Okay. Don't get squished by any Wookiees either. And as for the rest of you guys, if you feel so inclined to help the show continue, I am still 100% viewer funded. I have been completely demonetized by YouTube. And the only thing that's keeping this show going is the kind donations of wonderful viewers like you, some of whom have become the mighty knights and heroes of the realm due to their aid in continuing the quest to bring you the most kick-butt programs that I am capable of doing at this point. And with enough money, I'll upgrade it, make it even more kick-butt. That's the plan anyway. So hope you enjoyed the show, and make sure to come back for the next one. And meanwhile, everybody be kind. So make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puck, would you? And for God's sake, whatever you do, do not hug the Wookiee.